Hello everybody, I am Fuzzy Face and welcome back to this McLaren career on Motorsport Manager. We're on part 15 today. It is the penultimate race of the season. We've got the Brazilian Grand Prix at Sao Paulo coming up. We're getting straight into things today because we're winding down this season. There's not much to go through. We're not building any new parts or anything like that. Mick Schumacher, if you watched the last episode, we offered him a new contract. He has accepted. Obviously, we're not going to be with McLaren next season. We're just trying to leave them in the best position possible for next season. But anyway, let's get through this grid. As you can see, there's no Max Verstappen here. If you've been watching previously, in the last race, Mick Schumacher started from 20th place. He had an absolute brilliant start within a lap and a half. He got himself up to 6th place. This time, it is the turn of Max Verstappen to start from the back of the grid to see what he can do. We've got rain, so it might help him out. He's on a slightly different strategy to what Mick is. Even though we're locked in to the tyres. It wouldn't actually let me change the tyres, but it would let us put a new set of tyres on for some reason. Although the rain is going to hit on lap 2, so Max will be starting out in 20th on the Inters. As we can see, a lot of the AI cars have gone for that, whereas the top 10 have been locked onto dry tyres. Although Valtteri's managed to get onto the Inters. Why is it let Bottas change onto the Inters? I don't know. It wouldn't actually let me change Mick Schumacher's tyres. So, yeah, so that's the way it's going. But anyway, with the absence of Max from the top of the order, Mick has got himself onto the first row of the grid for possibly the first time this season, I think. But anyway, Max is starting from the back. He's got the Haas's, so let's just see if he can improve on what Mick did last time. Mick started in 20th. He finished the end of the race actually on the podium in 3rd place. Let's get a quick look at the cars. As you can see, the rain is coming this lap, well, on lap 2, so just depends how far we drop behind. We should be able to get past the rest of the cars that are on the Inters, and then from that point forward we can get into the pits to change the tyres onto the dry tyres around lap 5. We'll fuel for 6 laps of fuel, which is the most you can actually get in the car. Mick, we might not even pit him because that would mean 3 stops. We might pit. We'll just have to see how the rain's going. If he did pit, it would be at the end of lap 2, and then he would have maybe 2 laps where the track suits the intermediates a little bit more. But anyway, we'll get straight into this. Hopefully Max can get a really good start here. Max gets away beautifully, but he then gets slowed down by the Renault of Parma. Slowed down a little bit. Mick has made a brilliant start. Meanwhile, he's flying away here from Kimi Raikkonen. Vettel's moved up. Vettel's dropped way behind down into 3rd, so Schumacher's away here. What are we doing at the moment? Still stuck in 20th with Verstappen, although he's starting to make some moves now, flying down the inside of all these cars. Just don't want him to hit anyone. Getting crowded out. I'm just going to try and let Mick, just keep an eye on Mick. We'll just try and let him run his own race. He's still battling with Kimi Raikkonen at the moment, but Verstappen's struggling here to get many overtakes. He's not doing as good as Mick did. But then the strategy should come for him a little bit later on. Who's that? That's a 17th. That's Ricciardo and Hamilton. So these cars dropping down that are on the drier tyre now, they should start to drop away. So we might as well use some of this boost. Fly past this little gap of cars. Mick Schumacher is out in first. We've got a yellow flag, and that is Kimi Raikkonen that has crashed. So should we get Mick in? We're losing a lot of time. Is it enough? I don't think it's enough to change the strategy. Are we going to see any of these cars pitting? No. I think it's more ideal. Otherwise, we would have to change to a 3-stopper. If he stays out on these ultras in this weather condition, he can actually stay out. Max is up into 7th at the moment. He's battling. Who's that? That's the Force India, Sergio Perez, who is on the Inters. He dives down the in between the 2 Force Indias. A brilliant overtake from Max Verstappen there. But Max now behind the Sauber of Felipe Nasr. And that's Mickey's going past. Nope. Yep, he gets past Mick. He gets past the Renault of Jolyon Palmer. Carlos Sainz in front. Flies past Carlos Sainz as well. So obviously all these cars that are on the dry tyre are going to start coming back a little bit further into the race. Around here. Right, so we'll go medium. We want to get round this lap and the next couple, don't we? And the same with Max. We can just totally burn through the tyres. Right, so Max is in first. So Schumacher should be able to start coming back at these cars because the rain is going to stop from this lap. So we need to start thinking about getting Max into the pits after this lap to get him back on the correct tyre. He's flying away at the moment. Mick, though, has done an excellent job of staying, having a nice big gap over the other cars that were on the dry tyre. It's going to be interesting to see how this one falls out. We do have rain coming, so there's a nice little patch here that we just sort of need to get through until we can get back onto the intermediate. So it might mean stretching Verstappen out this extra lap, just so we can reach the point where we need to come back in for the next pair of intermediate tyres. Maybe that's what we have to do. So we're going to have to turn down here, I would guess, just to make sure that we can actually get through this extra lap. Schumacher, meanwhile, 12th place. He's hanging on brilliantly at the moment. There's enough of a gap between them at the moment. Verstappen, right, so Verstappen this time does need to come in. He's going to go on to the Ultras. We're going to fuel up. We can only do 6 laps, you see. We can get to about 5 laps remaining. Yeah, it should be alright. It should be decent enough to get to the point where the rain starts again. Right, so Max is coming in. Schumacher will be coming into the pits this time as well. He's starting to lap a little bit quicker. What can we do with his fuel load? He's going to run out of fuel before he gets round to the pits. It's Verstappen. No, Verstappen's got enough fuel to get round to the pits. Right, so set this back up again. Meanwhile, we'll just have to watch him. Let's put him in attack mode. Might as well get him going as well, since the track is almost at the right point now. We're going to get in. We don't actually have another pair of Ultras here because it went on to the fresh pair, so we're going to have to go super soft, but we can really push the super softs. We'll fill him up to the top as well because we want to do all 6 laps. Right, so Max is flying away here. Max is going to come into the pits. He should be able to get out in a pretty decent position. Probably come back out in first place because I'm guessing a lot of these cars are going to start pitting as well. Schumacher's starting to move back up the order now. Just got to watch the fuel. Let's go back to medium, otherwise he's going to start to run out. Is he? No. High. And across the line into 6th place. Max is out of the pits, just flying away now. Right, so we want to... we can just really attack on this as well, can't we? But we do want to look after the fuel as well, because we want to go the full 6 laps. So we can't push the fuel, but we can really push the tyres. Schumacher has a decent pit stop. He's back out into 7th place. Effectively 6. A couple of these cars, we should be able to pass these couple of cars easily with Mick. Mick should be able to lap a lot quicker than these, but Max is just killing it at the moment. 10 seconds away from Daniel Ricciardo, who still has to pit. He should be pulling away from Carlos Sainz. Sainz pushing his fuel. Yes, he is, but we're just hoping we can get to the point where we can get back in for the intermediate tyres now. Let's just look after these tyres. We'll try and cool them down as well. What's Mick doing at the moment? Concentrate on Mick a little bit. 130, lapping slower than Ericsson. Right, is Ericsson pushing his fuel? Is that why? Maybe, yeah, I think Ericsson was pushing all out in that last lap, but we're starting to catch up to him this time. So we've got boost. We've got a ton of boost for Max Verstappen. Let's just burn all that and use a little bit for Schumacher to get him back on the back of Ericsson. So we try and cool these tyres down. Ericsson using his boost. Ericsson's starting to push his tyres again now. We'll do the same. Struggling against the Haas here. Obviously Ericsson will possibly want to be one of our drivers next season when we take over at Haas, if that's hopefully available. Max sets a quickest first sector, doing with his tyres in backup mode, and quickest second sector as well. He's going to set an absolutely amazing lap here, is Verstappen, although a lot of that is possibly down because we were using the battery. Right, and we can push his tyre again from this point. Schumacher meanwhile has managed to get past Ericsson. He's coming up onto the back of Pierre Gasly in the Toro Rosso. He uses his boost. Right, let's try and cool these tyres down again. We'll try and get them cooled down enough so we've got one final push again. And we've got Ericsson coming into the pits already, so he's going to be doing 3 pit stops because he's going to have to come in. He's going to have to come in for a pair of intermediates or try and last till the end of the race, although he might go on to the intermediates a lap or 2 early. As Schumacher goes through now. Yep, everything's right here. So let's just push these tyres again now. Got 2 laps to go. Use the boost, try and get him a little bit close to Sergio Perez and Carlos Sainz. 3 seconds behind, lapping about the same at the moment, although they're probably pushing a lot more than we are with the fuel. And here we've got the rain starting to come. We're on the back of these 2 cars in front now. Max is just a mile away in front. Get him into the pits this lap for his intermediates, which we'll see him through to the end of the race. Enough fuel to get, might as well fill up to the top so we can push. Schumacher as well, we'll set him up as well. He's into third place now. Get him in for his first pair of inters this weekend. We managed to avoid all the rain in qualifying. There were some dry spells in qualifying to get out with Mick. And up into second already. Don't know what's happened to Perez. He run out of fuel or no? He's just going slow. Might as well push to get away with him, away from him a little bit. And yeah, brilliant. Brilliant here from Mick Schumacher and from Max. Max is out. 4 laps remaining. We can push this fuel all the way. We can attack on these tyres all out. We can do the same for Mick Schumacher in a second. Sergio Perez comes into the pits behind him, so Mick should be getting back out into second here. We can go in overtake mode. We'll push out of the pits. It's Carlos Sainz who's actually gone through there. Carlos Sainz came in a lap early and came in for the inters. Right, so it's just a matter of trying to chase him down here. We might as well use all the boost with Max. Hopefully he doesn't crash. We're pushing all out. Maybe we should just we'll cool Max off a little bit. We don't need to risk him crashing. Right, so we just need to try and catch up to Carlos Sainz here to get back this second place. From the Renault, having a really good race. It's worked out for a lot of these cars that started a long way down, being on the inters, where he's Vettel at the moment 6. We got at the bottom, we've got Hamilton in the Red Bull in 17th, Bottas in the Sauber. There's the other Ferrari, Giovinazzi. Hulkenberg's done pretty well to get up into 7th. They've been struggling recently. Where's Kimi Raikkonen? Raikkonen crashed early on, didn't he? But we're getting on the back here. The rain stopped briefly, but the track is still wet. It's going to dry a little bit, but then start raining again, it looks like. So can we use a boost now for Mick to get him past? There we go, we're past. We're past Carlos Sainz. Verstappen has a 35-second lead from being back of the grid. Absolutely amazing drive from Max Verstappen. Coming on to the final lap now. Mick is pulling away from Carlos Sainz, which is good to see. So we'll just watch Max Verstappen take this win from the back of the grid. Although the rain helped him out a little bit, or a lot, he still managed to get a lot of time. He possibly, I don't think we'd have caught Vettel, but I think we would have been good enough to get into second place from the back of the grid. Just having that fresh tyre at the start of the race does mean a lot. Obviously it didn't happen in this race, it was the intermediates, but as we saw with Mick, it does have a real big, makes a real big difference to have it. But there we go, Max Verstappen finishes first. Schumacher is coming across the line for his second place. So a great race once again. Max Verstappen coming from 20th place to get into first. Schumacher started second on the grid, finishes second. A brilliant race from him as well. Brilliantly managed around the track for him to get to where he did. He managed to, he was a lot quicker, wasn't he, on those dry tyres in the wet. He was somehow a lot quicker than the AI cars. They dropped a long way back in the early going as those cars on the intermediate started to get into their groove on the damp track. There we go, yes, absolutely brilliant race. 2 stop tip scrutineering. I don't think anyone's going to have any problems with their cars. Red Bull haven't been caught cheating this season. Demoted Marcus Ericsson put behind Kimi Raikkonen, so demoted 6 places for the Haas. Right, and that's a brilliant result for Carlos Sainz as well. Ocon pretty high up as well. So let's just have a look where we're at. 329 points now for Max Verstappen, 236 for Mick Schumacher. We're on 565. Ferrari a long way behind. Red Bull up into 3rd. Williams 4th. Mercedes. So Force India. Renault pick up 15 points in that race, which more than doubles their points or what they've got so far this season. And Sauber, Toro Rosso and Haas almost all but relegated. There's only 1 race to go this season. So we're going to be down in F2/GP2 next season with Haas. But anyway, that is it for this episode. We'll just go through the interview. Our 2 drivers yet. We don't regret not doing any team orders. It looks like it's going to be fully wet at Montreal. We're going to be on the full wets, it looks like, at some point at Montreal. Montreal obviously returning this season. It wasn't on the calendar last year after getting voted out the season before. Back this year, so we're finishing with Montreal. 1 Grand Prix to come. That will be up tomorrow. Max Verstappen taking 11 wins this season, with Schumacher 2, Vettel 2. So we've won 13 out of the 15 this season. Absolutely amazing result. Going to be interesting to see what we can actually do in GP2 next season. Every part is still actually spec. I think spec engines, gearboxes, front wings, rear wings, suspension and the brake here. So every part is still spec in GP2. So it just sort of comes down to who has the best driver and who can manage the race the best. So it should be quite easy coming back up. We've got Shanghai swapping from track A to track D next season in GP2. Refueling using 40 kg fuel tanks, so what we're doing at the moment in Formula 1. And groove tyres. So what tyres are you using at the moment, Cortez? About endurance. So we're swapping onto tyres that don't last as long next season, which doesn't really matter because they're swapping to the 40 kg fuel tanks as well, so tyres don't need to last as long. But what do they actually have for tyres? Do we have a free choice of compound? No, just 2 dry weather tyre compounds, so we'll usually be like a soft and a super soft, or an ultra soft and a super soft, which makes it a little bit easier for managing because there's only one qualifying session other than the 3-stage qualifying session that we've got in Formula 1. But anyway, that is it for this episode. The season finale coming up tomorrow. So until that time, I will see you down the road in Montreal for the Canadian Grand Prix, and goodbye.